But it's just my general experience that I realize that most people every single day of their lives are living completely and utterly unconscious. It's not even their lives. And they're so far gone. I can't explain this. I can only feel it. I can't explain it. And if I use the movie, the Truman Show, again, it's like, you see, I can't. I'm just thinking that all the people that were involved in the Truman Show, except Truman, actually believe that this was their real lives. That this is their actual real life. That they were completely involved in. Truman's mother was Truman's mother. She had no other life. Truman's best friend, Truman's wife, the people that worked with him, this is what this is all that they were. This was all that they were doing, was in service to the Truman Show and to keep Truman asleep. But they themselves, they believed they had no other life. They had no family besides for the Truman Show. I mean, I don't see how his wife how she was able to, in the Truman Show, have any type of normal life beyond the Truman Show. How did she possibly have that? How? Because she was with Truman most of the time. When she would go to work as a nurse, and then she would spend time with her real family. Can you imagine that? I mean, how do you have a relationship with your family when you're spending, 8 hours a day with them? You're not in, it's crazy. How did she go away with some friends every now and again? And, I'm saying Truman's wife, so she could spend, how did she have a baby or fall pregnant? She couldn't do anything because her whole life was devoted to the Truman Show. And so she became Truman's wife. Now, can you imagine the psychological break when he starts waking up for her, when she's so invested in her role? I mean, she sacrificed her whole life, to be Truman's wife. Not her whole life, but she sacrificed it from when they met in high school. And also the whole idea was that she was supposed to have a child with him and then carry on, in the Truman Show. She was just going to carry on without questioning his reality. And what I'm saying is that I see people now today that are so immersed. You see, it's hard to put into, because we're in the matrix. But if you and I were sitting on another planet and we're looking down, or another dimension, looking into this dimension, we'll be like, oh my word, these people are part and parcel of a system. They wake up and they go to sleep, they are part and parcel of a system. They've lost, they never even got a chance to discover who they were or what they were about, or honor their own feelings or experiences or make their own decisions. They didn't even have a chance. There was just no chance. That's how powerful the system is. And it's becoming even more powerful. So it's hard, it's such a weird thing, this kind of experience that we're living in. When I listen to these near-death experiences again, they're just so interesting. Because I've said this, and I will say it so many times, and how different it seems to be, life after death, and how unrelatable it does to this stiff-necked world. There's in the movie The Network. I don't know if it's going to come up here. So yeah, it's an old movie, the movie The Network, and there's the guy talking. I mean, he's, let's say, one of the worker bees of the Matrix, or the Truman Show, if you want to call it that. And he says to Mr. Beale, who's sitting down, he's explaining to him how the system works, and he says, one vast and economical holding company for whom all men will work to serve a common profit, in which all men will hold a share of stock, all necessities provided, all anxieties tranquilized, all boredom amused. And I have chosen you, Mr. Beale, to preach this evangel. So, yeah. And so just going through this before uploading it, I wanted to just make another point. I might actually talk about this later on in this recording, I'm not sure, but I wanted to add this in now. I might suggest it subtly, but I want to really sort of point it out because it's very important. When we talk about holding a stock in the Matrix, in the Truman Show,
an investment in it for its continuation, and our energetic investment into it, it's almost like we do it willfully. It's not that we're almost forced to do it to a certain degree. I mean, yes, we're forced to pay tax, but we're not forced to. We are able to use free will, if that's possible, and think for ourselves, and put our energy self-directed internally, if you want to call it whatever. That's a whole other thing. But the thing is that it's like almost like this. It's a company that says, "Look, we invite you. We're not forcing you to a large degree, but we're giving you an opportunity here." Like Meryl in The Matrix, Truman's wife. I mean, in the Truman Show, they say to her, "Look, you can give up on your life. The whole existence almost of your own authentic life, to become dedicated to be an actress, in the Truman Show, and to be Truman's wife, and to fall pregnant, have his baby, and carry on the deception, if you want to call it, or the what they saw as the source of entertainment, the source of art, almost in a way, and that's what you're involved in. It wasn't sort of seen as good or evil, the Truman Show, in a way. I mean, to a certain degree, but it was to Truman. But some people thought it was immoral, and other people didn't have a problem with it, because but at the same time, they were. You see, the thing is that also with Truman is that when he decided that he wasn't interested anymore, he left the Truman Show. He made up his own mind. Although they tried to stop him as much as possible, even put his life on the line, he still said, "Look, I'd rather die, at trying to free myself than actually be a slave." And I think again that's what all of us are asked for in this life as well. And it takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of sacrifice. And I mean, it's huge. It's not just based on a movie, and it's sort of not that important or significant. No, this is the story of our lives. This is the narrative of our existence. It's imperative that we become, we become more self-directed rather than externally directed. And anyways, authentically directed, sincerely directed, and again, think for ourselves and create our own path, if you will, in this life, walk our own journey, one that is not prescribed, and that we do not subscribe to while it's prescribed to the Matrix, right, to the Truman Show. So again, it's like we are asking to subscribe to the Truman Show, to the Matrix. It's us. We are wanting to do it. We are investing our lives into the business of the Matrix, into the Truman Show. We are compromising and sacrificing, sacrificing our very own existence, our authentic existence, our own pure being, whatever that might mean, for the Truman Show. And then it becomes our friend, our ally. It becomes our reason for living. It's like we wouldn't know what to do without it. We really wouldn't know what to do with our freedom. If the Matrix happened to one day, if we woke up and it disappeared, the Truman Show disappeared, and then what would we do with ourselves? Most of us, majority of us, would absolutely have a psychological breakdown. We won't be able to come right. It would be absolute pandemonium. So it's like we are heavily dependent on the Truman Show, on the Matrix. It's not something that we wanting to recognize and see. But again, people probably who run the Matrix or involved in the Truman Show, in the world that we're living in, they're saying we are like the father figure. We are the God. We are the goddess. We are everything to these people. We are their reason for living. We take care of their boredom, take care of their anxiety in a way. We are the nurturers, and that's what he says in the movie The Devil's Advocate. He says that the devil is speaking. He says, "I've nurtured all of man's desires, given him everything that he wants, that he's wanted, at the touch of a keyboard, basically." And so Um, I mean, it's big. It's very heavy. It's very deep. It's very deep. And it is. It's very real. And so I've nurtured man. That's what the devil said. He said, "While God judged man, and I've nurtured man's ego. I've nurtured his desires. I'm a fan of man," he says. Al Pacino, who plays the devil. "I'm a fan of man." And he says to worship God. He says, for what? He says, what does God give you? He just watches you and sees you how you, it says touch but don't taste but don't swallow. All these laws that are put into place for you to be moral, and then he just watches you run around, like jumping around like a wind-up toy. He says, he says, but for as regards to the devil, he says, no, I nurture, and if you switch on TV, switch on the news, all of it is nurturing to the the investment and the subscription. You subscribe to this matrix, and it's feeding you. It's your nutrition. It's your it's your go-to. Without it, you'll be doomed. So until we pull away, and as human beings, which I don't think will really ever happen, then the matrix will always continue. The Truman Show will always continue. Just the way it is. So for those of us that don't have a stock in the matrix, and care for our loved ones that have such an investment stock in the matrix, and again, like people like Meryl in the Truman Show, you want to connect with someone, let's say like Meryl, but she's so involved in the Truman Show. I mean, like my father, he's so involved in the Truman Show. My brothers, the friends that I went to high school with, when they had more free spirit, and they were just more, I don't know, they had more life to them. But now I just see the people that are around are just consumed and occupied, and completely involved in the matrix. They can't be reached, because they're just so involved and overtaken and brainwashed and conditioned and distracted by it. And it's a very hard thing to see. But again, it's also out of their own choice without them even knowing. And they want to keep the matrix. Again, they want the matrix, the Truman Show stock, to rise. They want it to continue, right? And so that's it. That's it. Okay.
We all, for those of us, have a stock in the matrix, in the system, in the company, and it helps us to keep us amused and tranquilized. And why must we be tranquilized? Why every single day are we woken up, and the devices that we hold in our hand, and the world that has been made around us for many, many decades now, centuries as well, there to tranquilize us? Why? What is it tranquilizing us from? And why is it doing it to us in the first place? Is there really like some kind of harvest of energy? Are we maybe feeding some kind of AI machine and not even aware of it, and going about our business, pretending that we have meaningful lives, and that we're making our own choice, and that we are fulfilled? Why? What needs to be tranquilized? What I feel is what needs to be tranquilized is the human. It's not the human spirit, right? But it's the pain and the suffering and the confusion and the anxiety that stems from losing connection with the human spirit. Again, it's that turning that person into a slave, if you will, that needs to be tranquilized. And, I'm just thinking of Truman's wife again, Meryl. And again, can you imagine the fear of her when Truman starts waking up? The fact that she has to now unplug herself from that Truman Show, and how everybody recognizes her and her whole dedication, her whole life to it. And what's it actually been about? Has it been something that's been positive? Has it been something that was or did it support a lie? You know, Truman happened to have a happy ending, the movie, but if it didn't, and he died, never knowing that his whole life was controlled, and eventually, you know, because they used every trick up their sleeve, and eventually he couldn't handle it anymore, and he just stopped asking questions, and he became docile, you know, and he just became just like what most people do. He just gave up, you know, and then he just started withering away, and then pretending that, which is what most people do. So that's why when Truman has his curiosity, it needs to be tranquilized. It needs to be misdirected somewhere else. You know, and when he's wanting to go explore, and Meryl says, why don't we go upstairs and do a little bit of hanky-panky, you know? And when they want her to try fall pregnant, you know, also to keep Truman still in the, you know, and change his mind. But what happens if Truman was, you know, again, he died at the age of 88 years old. I mean, and then they just switched off. They said, okay, it's over now. Can you imagine? All those people, all those dedicated fans and viewers and that came along for the ride, and all that there was with Truman was that he died. And it was the world's biggest funeral, and it was very sad. And nothing was really taken from it, you know. There was no. It got so boring towards the end because he would just sit like my stepfather and play solitaire on his computer the whole day and be fine with that, you know, and not have any. Maybe he just grew old, not have any relationships with people. He just wasn't interested, you know. He just wanted to sit and watch his Netflix. Or just wanted to drink, or he just wanted to bitch and moan and whatever it might be, or just became very regressed like a child, and you know, oh my word, you know, the milk is a little bit sour, or you know, just really petty stuff. Shouting at the neighbor because, I don't know, a palm tree fell on his lawn, and that's unacceptable. I told him to cut it, and you know, all of that kind of stuff. Yeah, so there's much to be said on this. And maybe I'll pick up on this again because there's so much to be said. Yeah, I mean, we could talk about Meryl's life and when Truman did wake up and what did that mean for her and how she was invested in the Truman Show, and how, again, that's like our family and friends and the people that we know. And they're just so eager to continue because they don't know anything else, and they're so invested and they're so committed. What I'm saying is, Meryl, how's she going to have her own life beyond the Truman Show? She never developed her own life. She never made any friends, you know, or any relationships. She didn't work on herself and find out what it is that makes her happy or makes her sad, you know, or motivates her, or her relationship to death, you know. Then one day she's going to die. She was too busy. She was too consumed. You know, she didn't know how. She didn't grow into being a mother because she was playing Meryl the whole time. She never grew into a woman. You know, her path of, you know, was interrupted because she was just playing this fake role all the time. You know, and again, her real family and friends and everybody else in the real world, she probably lost contact with or couldn't keep a relationship going with them. It was just too difficult. So she'd never developed herself at all. And she'd never developed the fact that she also came from very complex trauma, suffering with complex trauma, and as it carries a whole lot of shame, you know, and a voice and a critic voice. And the Truman Show just numbed it, just tranquilized all of that because she was so dedicated to it. So her life didn't exist, and she was very happy about that. Maybe she was, maybe she wasn't. I'm just saying in this case, most people are very happy about being, you know, capitulated to the Matrix, to be part of the Matrix. They're very happy. They don't want it to stop. They don't want the tranquilization. They don't want to be. They want the dumbing down to continue. They want to have their children, you know, merged with AI and with technology. They want whatever the Matrix has to offer. Whatever the system has to offer, they want it. If it's an upgrade of the smartphone, they want it. If it's a new television show, if it's a new, like Netflix, one of these streaming line, they want it. If it's a faster internet speed, a lot of the time I want it for whatever reason. You know, we want more of the same thing, you know, the more that we can get so we can be tranquilized. So we all have an invested interest, like Merrill in the Truman Show, we all, and his best friend, we all, Marlon, have a vested interest to keep the lie going. Isn't that crazy that we wake up every day because we become so dependent on it and we've lost ourselves, you know? We've lost connection with ourselves. We don't want to know ourselves. Ourselves is too painful. It's too scary. It's too traumatic. It's like, whoa, hold on a minute. There's actually a person here that actually feels, you know, that is actually afraid, you know, that has insecurities, that feels lost, you know, that feels despair. Don't know what to do with these emotions. This is too much of a big talk. I don't feel I'm doing it justice. There's just too much to be said. It's ridiculous. It feels like I don't know, what a TV series that is expanded by like 8 seasons, 21 episodes each, and I'm kind of just doing a summary of, you know, I mean, I'm trying to summarize the whole thing, and it's stretched, you know, and the individual stories of what happened and throughout this whole season. I mean, even more than that, and I'm just trying to talk about, like, it's ridiculous, like one episode and try, it's, you know, give an indication on what I'm talking about or the series is about. Not just an indication, but I mean, it's ridiculous. My effort here, or my intention, not my intention, but come on, to discuss. We could speak about this. I mean, we could just talk about Merrill for days in the Truman Show, Truman's wife, for days and days and days and days and days, you know, endlessly, and we'll be discovering things more and more all the time. But let me end off. So with my friend Michael and a friend of mine, Ari, that I was friendly with as well, it's really very scary when I do, you know, Michael, for example, why I dreamt about him was that he used to visit me not that long ago, maybe 5 years ago. I lived in Johannesburg, and he used to visit me at my house, and he actually he's a what do you call it, an estate agent. And I asked him to come and give me a price on the house and have a look and see it. And, you know, I spent some time there, we chatted. I mean, yesterday he sends me a picture. He says, was this your house up for rent? You know, so the house that, he says, this house, he shows me a picture of some random house. And he says, dude, was this the house that you sold because it's up for rent? You know, just showing me like, interesting. I'm like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. That house looks nothing alike my house. But he's so aloof. I know he's so aloof. He doesn't know whether he's coming or going. Majority of people don't know where they're coming or going. They have no idea. They are just so overwhelmed. They are so, oh my word, it's absolutely scary. They don't know how they're behaving. They don't know what they are doing, and their lives are just passing them by, and they have no idea, no clue that they're even alive. And they're just like Truman, but they've been so tranquilized. And this doesn't have a happy ending where they break out of the Truman Show. No, 99% of people, I don't know how many it is, but it's a massive amount of people, like Truman, will never break out, and they will go to sleep. You know, they'll take their final sleep within the Matrix, within the Truman Show. That's what they will do. And you'll probably never be able to reach them on an emotional, real level. You'll most likely never have an authentic, real relationship with them. It'll most likely be a very childish relationship, very adolescent relationship, very one-way kind of relationship. It'll be an inconsistent relationship with them. Unfortunately, you will see them just go from bad to worse. They'll become more and more regressed. They'll become more and more narcissistic as the years pass on. And that's what I've seen. They'll become more and more lost, more and more confused, more and more despaired, more and more depressed underneath it all, more and more anxious. But as that transpires, as that goes on, the more committed they're going to be to running around and keeping themselves busy and being involved with soccer teams and being involved in keeping up with Netflix and just everything else, and being involved with, okay, now we're supporting Ukraine, and now we, supporting whatever, and you'll just see them, and now okay, this person's now bisexual, and then they change to becoming transgender, and then they're doing this, and then they're doing that, and you're going to see people, and then they're going to come up with more technological devices, and people are going to like, jack me up, plug me in, and they're just more and more committed to the matrix, more and more to the machine. And again, if you want to call it satanic in that way, well, yes. Again, why not? Is that not the case? But again, if you walk up to your family or your friends, if I walk up to Michael and I say that that you're living, you're serving a very satanic agenda, be like, what are you talking about? I'm a religious Jewish guy. A satanic agenda? I have no clue what you're talking about. He believes that he believes in God, and he's a very sweet guy, and he has a nice amount of faith, but only in, I don't know how to explain his sort of commitment. It's also more, he was a very wild guy when he left school, and and I don't know, he got a bad reputation, and I think one day he felt very lost and he became religious again. He became very, very religious, and I've seen that with quite a few guys who had like a tremendous amount of spirit and a tremendous amount of things to offer to the world and the people in a very unique way, but they just couldn't find that balance. They couldn't find the way to do it. They couldn't find themselves, and so they committed themselves intensely to a religion, and then that allowed that to guide them every single day. You wake up and you pray, and this is what you think, and this is what you say, and this, so he just committed himself to it, which I've seen a lot of people do. Again, a lot of incredible people that I grew up with, even my cousin did it as well. They all took the plunge. My cousin all took the plunge. And when I speak to him today, when I see him today, I don't see him as he's in overseas, but when I send a voice note, it's like we talk about movies. He's got 5 children. It's so pathetic. And whenever I do talk about something that's more substantial or real, like he says, well, I've got such anger issues, and I talk about it, I don't hear from him for like 4 or 5 months. Like I'll send him a voice note on why I think he's got these anger issues. I don't hear from him for literally 3, 4, 5 months. Just can't handle it. Just cannot handle it. So it just carries on in the same fashion, in the same way, but just getting worse and worse and worse. Yeah. So I just wanted to share that. Again, I haven't even touched the tip of the iceberg. I think it's almost impossible to do it. It's just, again, it's like you and I, for me, we're having a conversation and we've lived in water our whole lives. And I'm trying to talk about the fact that we live in water. And you're like, dude, I don't get it. So all you know is water. All we know is water. It's like water. I don't even know what that is. You can't. You can't say that. You don't even know what water is because you don't know anything else. Water is your whole life. It's every single thing. You just don't know anything else. So that's what I feel like I'm trying to do, because we're immersed in it. And it's not only that, but it's so large. It's so massive, all of this. And it's happening right here, right now. In this very room, in this very moment, the people are plugged in, the people are tranquilized, the people are in the Truman Show, and you know what? They will be buried in the Truman Show, majority of them, unfortunately. Again, I wish it would be different, if it would be, absolutely, why not? But I don't think so. And this is the way that it's going to go. Yeah. And very little progress in regards to the human spirit on a massive scale. There is no mass awakening. No. There isn't a mass awakening. And whatever it is. Doesn't look like that to me. But it will happen on an individual scale, on an individual level, and it's happening with people like myself and you, I believe. Yeah. Aren't we the fortunate ones, the blessed ones? You know? I don't think it's something to be cynical about either, or like sort of tongue-in-cheek about, because it's a big thing. All right, take care.